This is a Mandelbrot set, and he was a famous fractal guy. And this is very famous. A lot of people. Wait. Hold on. Okay, now it's starting. Hold on. Let me go back. I think I hit the wrong button. Okay. So this is a Mandelbrot set. The thing about fractal geometry that's fascinating is, and it's just like the universe. There's nothing new and nothing old. Things are always the same and always changing. And he was explaining to me that when you have a child, that is your biological fractal. That is and it's a part of reincarnation. You are reincarnating. Because there's multiple layers of reincarnation that I learned a lot about when I asked that question. And I teach whole courses on the quantum physics of reincarnation. I learned that reincarnation is more real than even the spiritual people imagine. And it's a real science in the near future. But he was trying to explain to me how this related to even reincarnation. And I'll run this little film for you. Okay. So this is a Mandelbrot set. And you'll notice as you look at it, it's always the same image, but it's going to freak you out how it changes. It's always the same. And he was explaining that if you understand this, you can track patterns of anything. You can track even past lives. You can track your patterns that will lead you into the future, because all karma is just cause and effect. It's a continuum. And if you watch this as we go, you think you come to the end of something, and then it begins again. It never ends. It's like when you die, you just open your eyes again. A new fractal begins. And it's always the same and always different. And no matter which corridor the soul enters, the soul comes out. Lives enter, lives go out. Universes come and go. And at times it may look completely foreign to you, but again, it's still the same thing. It's the same soul image. And this repeats. You see, infinity is not a good word, because infinity is only a moment. It's not a long thing at all. But this is how we can track past lives. We can track patterns into the future. We can figure out how nature makes a leaf, how a snail shell is made. And it always goes. It's always going. How it started, we will never know. There'll never be an answer for that. Not even the light can answer that. And you end up in places you think you've never been before, and then all of a sudden you realize you've been here before. Deja vu again. Deja vu is fractal. And so you may think you're entering a new universe, even if you're a star traveler, and the minute you get there, a new one begins. Every thought you have literally creates another dimension. So how many dimensions are there? You can't count them. Every idea you have will actually create a dimension. And he was trying to explain this to me, how galaxies form, how our life is totally involved in this, and he called this God's mathematics. And I always thought it was funny that when you get to when you see a Mandelbrot sit like this, it almost looks like Buddha, you know. Very interesting, huh? And so that was some of the main things I learned. And tomorrow, and I'm not over yet, don't worry, but tomorrow I'm going to teach you the greatest things I ever learned from the light, called the Spirit of Gaia, a natural view of spirit. Because when you call something metaphysical, supernatural, or paranormal, now you've separated it. Once you leave the nature of the universe, the nature of your soul, you're in la-la land. And there's a lot of la-la land around. People that think they're so special, nature doesn't apply to them. How many times we learned that lesson? So everything is natural. And what we call supernatural now, we're going to understand as new physics, and physics is sacred. And the other thing I've learned that I'll talk about tomorrow is that biology is sacred. I've got a whole website that's not up yet called Sacred Biology. So science became sacred stuff to me. And it helped me understand the universe better. And it helped me understand what we call psychic stuff. All that's understandable. All of it's natural. There's nothing supernatural about it at all. Did you know that everything on this planet is psychic? From bacteria to plants to humans. And psychic, what we call psychic ability in humans evolved originally as survival mechanisms. Sensing danger, sensing vibes, sensing predators, sensing water, sensing food. And it's in every part of our system, from bacteria to plants to humans. In humans, it's gone to a much higher order, which can be misused or can be silly sometimes. But the human brain can take it to the furthest it's been ever on this planet. So it's all very natural. And you started with it at the beginning of our evolution. It's always been here. It's just that people have separated it out, and it shouldn't be separated out. Now, another little bit about my afterlife is that my relationship with the light, right from the beginning, was one in which I would ask the light, can I bring anything back? You know, and the light said, sure, let's figure it out. And so my experience with the light very quickly evolved into what I call a practical application of higher consciousness. In other words, if I'm a channeler, I channel nuts and bolts. And over a series of years, I finally met people who could fund research to see if I knew anything. And it was these 7-year periods in my life where I found people that would give me a chance and fund me in millions of dollars for research. And thought about being lucky, because I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't realize until people like Glenn Rhine and the Bruce Liptons and all that came in as consultants way back, like from '87 on. And I would start talking and go, oh, well, that's quantum biology. Oh, that's this, that's that. Oh, that frequency, 632.2, that's magic, you know, in wavelengths for healing. And with, because it was the field of phototherapy, which is what Walter Russell and Denshaw was pointing me at, was kind of ivory tower stuff back then. I got into phototherapy before LEDs were good for anything. We still had to use lasers. And the field of phototherapy was developed by the Hungarians like 60, 70 years ago, so it's a really new science. But it was developed for veterinarians in the beginning, for wound healing. And then lots and lots, by the time I got into it, it was still a very ivory tower and there was no internet. They had already done so many animal experiments that, lucky for me, the timing was right, that by the time I awoke and people realized what I was doing, you didn't have to do animal experiments anymore, we could go right to humans. And we did. But the interesting thing is that in the field of phototherapy, most people didn't know about it because it was ivory tower and there was no internet. So lucky for me, Bruce Lipton, who was at Stanford at the time, his girlfriend at the time was a librarian at Stanford Medical School. And she knew this thing called Medline. You ever heard about it? Medline? And I hired her to do some research for me. And when she got the research back, it was right on the money, everything I'd been saying, right on the money, which gave us even more hope. So more think tanks, and then we got to the phase in the next 7 years of building delivery systems. And I've become an expert in delivery systems because if you understand phototherapy, there's only 4 bioactive wavelengths that are beneficial to human beings out of all sunlight. Only 4, and you can't patent them. And I was into phototherapy before anti-aging became a business. And I've invented dental appliances because I got very interested in longevity and quality of life. And I was told, light's the way to do it. Photons, electrons, all that. This is the way to do it. This is all life anywhere in the universe does this. It's called electron transport and biophotons, in other words. But so we would build these devices and test them, and we would. I was the first person. In the beginning, we were doing wound healing and getting spectacular results, as others were at the time. But I was able to come up with very novel delivery systems, and you can literally, in many cases, watch a wound heal. It's amazing how fast they'll heal. And I got the idea one day that, well, if we can do a wound and oncological support for chemo, radiation, and surgery, then would it be possible to get the whole body to go into just regeneration, keep renewing itself? And so that work had never been done before. So we had great funding at the time. We hired all these doctors and these think tanks, and let me tell you, putting a clinical together is the most mind-numbing experiences I've ever been through. Because you can spend a lot of money on tests that mean nothing in the end because somebody can just pull one thread and go, oh, you forgot something. Mind-numbing experiences. But so because no one had ever done this, there was no one lab that did everything, because we needed to check everything in the human body. Because I was thinking, we're now going into the field of systemic regeneration. And so We picked 10 major labs in the U.S. We stayed away from alternative medicine, anything New Age, because I don't want to fight their fight. There's a lot of good stuff out there, but they haven't done their work to prove their stuff. I know there's really good stuff out there that works, but I'm not holding it up to a doctor. I believe in Curlian, the proper use of it, not the New Age use, but I will never hold that up to a doctor as any evidence. So it was blood, saliva, and urine. And we embarked on a long project of studying the long-term effects of this kind of phototherapy, building devices like this one. When I channel the light, I am the designer. I get the whole designs and what the designs are used for. I design everything, every little piece of this. This arm was specially made in Norway because it's the only person I could get to do what I wanted. And LEDs were custom made for us at the time. I was the first to kind of pioneer multi-wavelength LEDs. And all kinds of delivery systems. And in the beginning, these things were sold for a lot of money to corporations. And my products are in 20 countries helping people already. And then one of the things that I learned, because over the last almost 30 years now, I become an expert in who lives to be 100 and why. I became fascinated about it. And there are databases that themselves are over 100 years old now, studying 100-year-olds. It's amazing. And we're talking, when you study 100-year-olds, it has to be documented birth records, not the Hunzas, which were never proven. They didn't even keep birth records, not a Greek yogurt island. They don't have the stresses we do. This had to work for us. And originally, I was developing this stuff for myself. I never thought about going into business until we needed more money and the business guys started showing up. And we healed many a business guy and their families. That's how I won people over in the beginning. We were changing their families. And that's when trouble began, too, when the sharks smell the money. And so the studies came back in spectacular, really amazing. And I remember when the first studies started coming back in, and we were doing 10 major labs in America to cover the entire system. And the doctors were jumping up and down one day, and I went in and they were trying to, I said, well, I don't even know what that means. And they were going, oh my God, it works. You know, I said, well, I knew it would. So we pioneered in different kinds of devices. I've always wanted to get a device cheap enough and practical enough for the average person, because if you really understand this kind of phototherapy, it's something you're going to want to do every day. Now, we had to go from medical devices to spa devices, $20,000 spa devices and all that. How many days a week can you go to a spa? You know? But I couldn't get corporations interested in these smaller devices because everything was going very well. And but the best use of phototherapy is to use it every day, because do you know what your aura is? Well, one of the aspects of your aura, it's biophotonic. When an aura is energy leaving your body forever. You're watching energy leave your body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To a quantum biologist, you're kind of similar to a wet cell. And your mitochondria, DNA, looks like a battery capacitor. And if you look at an electron microscope. And I do whole lectures on this. But so you might be surprised that with documented birth records, people living the longest in the world are Americans. Diet is not a common factor, sorry to say. So some people really think diet's going to be. I love to, I take care of myself, but diet has not been a common factor. We're talking about drinkers, smokers, biscuits and gravy every day, and these people are living. And I won't get into that too much because it's one of my favorite subjects. I do whole seminars on that. But we were proving you have two ages in your life. You have your chronological age, which actually means nothing to nature. It's only good for a birthday party or an astrology chart. It means nothing to nature. Your biological age, which we can measure very accurately for 20 or more, over 20 years now, you've been able to measure your biological age. And most of us are 20 to 40 years older than you think you are. It's called a burn rate. And that's because as an energy system, you're burning energy all day. You ever see somebody in a night vision scope? They glow in the dark. That's your biophotons. That's energy leaving your body. But you're a battery, so it's going to run down. And humans have not got the best processing system on the planet. We have one of the poorest stomachs on the planet. Chicken has a better stomach than us. So there comes a point in your life where you start aging, which is really entropy. And now you're not making enough energy to sustain the cells and the repair rate, called the burn rate. So we were able to prove that we were the first to really prove, and this is secret sauce stuff, that we could lower the biological age below that of the chronological age. Now that's true anti-aging. We could slow down your aging dramatically, and I'm evidence of it. I used to tell my friends it'll take you 20 years to believe me, and they look like my father now. Many of them look like my grandfather, and they're starting to believe me all of a sudden. But what happened along the way was that anti-aging became a business. And I kind of missed it in the beginning because I was so serious. I had developed a dental device because the number one thing in 100-year-olds is good teeth or no teeth. It's the number one plague of animals and humans in all of history. Your teeth are going to be the most offense to your immune system you can imagine. It's the best investment in your life is to take care of your teeth first. Don't invest in stock, invest in your teeth first. And that's a great story about dental, and we've made such great strides. And I work with some of the best dentists on the planet now. I've been developing devices for years to go in your mouth and other places. And so we were experimenting with these dental devices I made after dental surgery and whatever, and with a very famous dentist, a father of one of the fathers and co-founders of the American Laser Dental Association. And his clients were coming back because their wrinkles were going away. And he said, why is this? Oh, that's a side effect. Any healing, it's collagen's the easiest thing to do. If that's nothing. He went, Mellen, wrinkles. Finally, I smelled the coffee. But we have to thank the baby boomers and vanity for saving our lives. There's a profound side to vanity. Because, forgive me if there's any doctors in the room, but most doctors follow the money, whatever the trend is, and med spas are the trend now. Baby boomers started to demand anti-aging products, non-invasive ones, and that created what we have today. It wasn't the doctors. The researchers had all this stuff that had not even been applied yet to this. I wasn't even thinking about it. But anti-aging is true health. And it's not how long you live, it's how long you can extend the quality of your life. And for me, I knew from I'm a history buff and all that, I knew that the best work on the planet's usually done by people over 50, not by child prodigies. But then we start burning out, And so I was developing a technology to extend life and the quality of life and to extend the golden years, our cognitive functioning years, so we could do great planet. That was my original goal. And then the anti-aging came in that could probably pay for it. So it's a fascinating story how it evolved and how far it's come nowadays. But a little history, this was a great device. This is one of the first full body devices. And now I can do everything from your face, every organ in your body. And it's easy to test and quick to test. Every organ in your body. It's amazing. And that's a whole other story. I could do a whole phototherapy thing next time. But this was the first full body device because there's a lot to this. There's a whole science that we discovered on how to get the body to do this and timing and everything. So in a half hour, your aging starts going down. It's amazing and can be tested very easily. These are some of the people I've worked with. This is Stephen Jacques, University of Oregon Medical School. I've taken courses with him for I don't know how long. And he's I think, the top tissue optics person in the country, maybe the world. And for me, studying tissue optics was a Rosetta Stone on how to build delivery systems. And so he's like a god to me. And this is the dentist I was talking about, Dr. Robert Barr. And all kinds of, we're going to come out with toothbrushes, and there's all kinds of devices that I've developed that are already out around the world, by the way. Here's some of the more exotic things. This is for post-surgical. They called it the Hannibal Lecter. Other exotic full-body systems, mainly focusing on the face. And you may recognize this great guy, Glenn Rhine. Cleve Baxter, the guy who discovered plants have feelings in the 60s. The light told me to look him up about 87. Look up this Baxter guy. So I got to meet him, and we've been friends ever since. And the light told me that Cleve Baxter, who discovered primary perception, check it out, had discovered something as important as Newton or anybody else had ever discovered anything on this planet. and he wouldn't be known for it till after he's dead, and asked me to take care of him, which I've tried to do. And he's not an easy guy to take care of. But, so he is known in the future as a saint almost. This guy's got reverence in the future. I mean, this guy really discovered something amazing once you look into it and understand it. It's already affecting your life. You don't even know it, what he's discovered and how it's been applied. And this was early experiments that I funded, looking at DNA as a signal processor, because in the early days it was all DNA and cell receptors and all that. We've gone way beyond that since then. But I invented a little chip made from DNA, and this was one of the readouts, and here's the little thing plugged into all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And because I knew it was going to work, I'm the guy that took this picture. I just stood back as they turned it on and waited for the moment of discovery. And Cleve was so happy. Look at that. And there, look at the shock. Whoa, it works. It has future implications for chemoradiation and giving you exact dose and communications and all sorts of stuff that's going to be very interesting in the future. These days I was 20 years ahead, and that's a lonely place to be. I try not to get maybe 2 or 3 years ahead these days. So that's my talk. We're going to leave the rest open for questions and answers. So thank you very much. And I rarely do questions and answers anymore, but for this audience and the Rhine Center, I'll try to answer whatever I can. I may not have information. I'm not interested in everything. I don't know everything. So, and I don't make it up. So if I don't know something, I don't know it. So.